Welcome, everybody, to the Max Moving Training Podcast. And on today's episode, we have an amazing CEO out in Toronto, Canada, Colin Vandenwerf. He's the owner of Relocation Engineer, a former, I think, manager of Two Men in a former owner of the franchise Two Men in a Truck out in Toronto, Canada, for about 8 years or so. So he's coming today with so many golden nuggets. I am super excited, but I'll let him get into saying a little bit about himself. Colin, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. Well, Dwight, thanks for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity. Um, I started with Two Men in a Truck. I was there for 8 years. I was the general manager for three franchises, and we grew it to pretty substantial numbers. I left there and did some other things in between, and decided one day that I just got to do it myself and have the freedom to do it myself and really implement the change that I want to see without having to go through the corporate process, right? And we've been in business for we're going on 1 year. First year in business, we're in the high six figures, and we're looking to go seven figures in year two, and just grow this thing through good service, transparency, and really looking to make a difference in people's lives, like actually, like it's not really about moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're super excited, and just we want to help other companies, and I got a lot under my belt, not to brag, but I have over 25,000 moves under my belt that I've booked and managed and overseen. So I think I know a
Nice.
little bit about moving.
Nice. Cause yeah, I'm definitely like, just coming out the gate with just opening your own little thing and your own market. Was it, kind of like, well, you had the experience, so I'm not gonna say it's like intimidating, because you definitely know what you were doing. But did you expect to hit such high growth levels out the gate?
No, I think fear always plays a little bit of a factor when you're doing new things, especially when you're going to do something on your own, because if it fails, that's really on you. And really there is no room for failure, right? When it's your own thing, it's not like a job where I know I'm getting my paycheck every other Friday when we're slow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was a little bit conservative with the numbers. My wife, who's also my business partner, when I did the initial projection, I figured we'd do about 100,000 in the first year. And
Nice.
she looked at me and was like, "Are you out of your mind? Like you do that in a month, right?" And I was like, I want to be conservative a little bit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
turns out we blew that number like way out of the water. Our accountant is going on about how like he's never seen a company do this much revenue in their first 10 months. We were talking to a marketing company. So just so like just for context, the first like 300,000 we did was all organic. There was no marketing, there was no nothing. That was just
Okay.
based off my name in the industry. And so we started now doing some marketing. So we're advertising on Google and Facebook, and I don't think the US has a website. It's called Homestars. So it's kind of
Okay.
like just like a place where people go to look for whatever, plumbers, movers, whatever.
Gotcha.
And the marketing guy, and I still don't know if he said this like to be nice or if he was trying to get our business or if he actually meant it, but he says he was looking at our numbers and he says, you guys you're a case study. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
normal that this kind of stuff happens so quickly. but
Definitely.
but it's kind of skewed because it's not like I woke up one day and said I'm going to be a mover. Like I have 13 years in the industry in senior level roles, so I had a little bit of an advantage when I started, right?
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it was scary. And then, we were cruising through, and January came, and it was essentially our first rough patch. And
Oh yeah.
you know, there was a little bit of panic, a little bit of, oh man, am I doing the right thing? And should I even be doing this? But we made it through. And then February was, a little bit better, but not really. And you know, but we just keep going. I mean, the thing is, you once we made the decision that, this is it, and we have, big goals, like, the goal, the goal is to be the largest moving company in the world, right? And anything short of that, we failed.
Gotcha. So you got franchise in the thought.
I don't want to do franchising. No, I think we thought about it, and I'm coming from a franchise system. I'm sure everybody knows Two Men and Trucks, the largest
Hmm.
franchise moving company in the world. And you know, no disrespect to them, they're great at what they do, right? They got their marketing down pat, they got their trucks down pat. Everything is it's turnkey. It's like McDonald's, right?
Hmm.
But coming from the franchise system, you see the holes, right? And there is pros and cons with franchising and not franchising. But I think for me, the number one thing in my business is always going to be quality. And I think that ultimately, when you franchise something out, you lose control of your quality,
Got that. I
right?
got that.
And we don't want that. I don't want to be, just the biggest company in the world. I also want to be the best company in the world, right? And so I think, when I look at other companies that are massively successful, Apple, Walmart, Nike, right?
Hmm.
None of these companies use a franchising model,
Okay. So
right?
you're thinking like just basically growing and just having like one central location and just really just blowing up in the
Yeah.
market.
Yeah. So the plan is, we look at other companies that are successful, right? So we look at Remax, for example, Remax,
Hmm.
the real estate brokerage. You may or may not know, but they are, I think, the largest real estate brokerage in the world.
Okay.
And so, how they got there is interesting. So what they did was in the early days, they went around and bought other real estate brokerages, rebranded up the level of service rather than starting from scratch everywhere they went. So essentially that'll be the same idea. Like once we're ready to leave Toronto and go to, a neighboring city of Toronto, let's say Mississauga, Barrie, whatever, the plan is to go and buy an existing moving company that already has a database and a good
Hmm.
client relations, and then rebrand it and then up the level of standard, put our policies, our procedures in place, and then go from there.
Oh, so
So
like almost like a chain essentially.
yeah, yeah. And then, we're talking with our lawyers and accountants and everything about like the different, what's different about franchising versus keeping it corporate or keeping it under one. And ultimately I'd rather just have a chain of the right people working for us so we can keep our standard the same,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Makes sense. All right.
yeah,
No, that's awesome. All right. So I know that you wanted to go over a particular topic today. Did you
yeah.
want to hit us with those gems?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things, in talking to other moving companies and knowing other moving company owners and being in the industry, I feel like a lot of companies have the same, grievance, I guess you could say. My
Okay.
guys don't show up, or the police came looking for one of my movers that didn't work here, that doesn't work here, or I can't get these guys to stay, or these guys are terrible, right? And there's got to be a better way. Like we as owners, we can't accept that, right?
Definitely.
And I think at the end of the day, the onus has to come onto us as owners, at how do we manage our employees? How do we treat them? How do we deal with them? How do we set up their expectations, right? Because it's, I think what happens is in our industry is a lot of people just settle with, oh, this is the moving industry and it is what it is. But it doesn't
Mm.
have to, right? Like it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's one thing that I think, a lot of companies, a lot of owners are, I want to be careful with my wording. I don't want to say struggling, but I think it's a pressing issue in our industry.
Gotcha.
Let's talk about it. Also, I got a chance, just quickly, I got a chance to watch some of your other content before we met today, and I got to say it's amazing what you're doing, and I appreciate what you're doing, and it's really good, and it's a breath of fresh air. Our industry needs it. I was watching the video with Jay.
Okay.
Okay, and I remember, I think it was 0.8 or 0.9, and he says, no, I've never met a moving company that's sending out thank you cards after the move.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to show you something. I've been doing that since 2014. Here's my cards here.
Okay.
And then
Nice.
after the move, we send them out because he nailed it on the head. It's after move care is critical, very critical,
Definitely. Yeah.
very
That
critical.
episode, I feel like brought a lot of like awareness.
Good,
Like, what could we be
great.
doing?
Yeah, what can we do different to one, get more business, but I mean the ultimate goal is to really satisfy people,
Mm-hmm.
and then the money will come, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I think,
So,
we were doing newsletters after the move or so like that. But I guess it kind of said thank you, but then it was also like a what would you call it? Like a referral
hmm,
gift certificate that was in there.
yeah,
So if they wanted to use another service like storage or junk removal, or hey, you know what, maybe you know someone else that's moving and you want to do a transferable gift certificate to someone else. It was kind of like doing a newsletter like that. But I
yeah,
think that personal touch of mailing them a thank
yeah,
you card goes so much further than, someone that may not even look at their email.
yeah. And it's handwritten too. Every single one is handwritten.
Oh, wow. Now,
Yeah,
they got technology out there that's doing the handwritten stuff that looks like it's handwritten.
yeah, but but I'll know that it's not handwritten. Right?
Makes sense.
So I'll know. And so, we just want to, stick to our core beliefs and our foundation. It's
Okay.
my hand hurts though. I'll tell you, after a year of doing this, my writing is better and my hand hurts. So
Definitely. No, that makes sense. Now, do you just put a stamp on that little gift card or do you put it in like a little envelope? Like
yeah, so we have branded envelopes as well too.
okay.
So we send those out, and then generally, what we'll do, depending, it really depends on like the size of the move. I mean,
Hmm.
for a $500, $600 move, I'm not gonna, you know, give an extravagant gift, right? But
Gotcha.
we try to personalize it. I mean, we had a customer in the summer
Hmm.
who it was a pretty big move, very big actually, 2 trucks, full packing, everything.
Hmm.
And she was a big Rolling Stones fan. And I saw that when I did the survey with her, the in-home
Hmm.
survey. She had Rolling Stones pictures everywhere. And so I went and I bought her a limited edition Rolling Stones book as like a gift, as a housewarming gift.
Wow.
And she's referred me, I think, 12 or 13 people since then.
Wow. That's awesome. Like just going thinking out of the box and just
Out of it,
freaking
out of it, right? And that's part of the reason why I wanted to do my own thing, because I have all these ideas.
hmm.
But when you're working for somebody else or you're working for a corporation, there's processes you got to go through. There's chain of command you got to go through.
Hmm.
Now it's like, oh, that's a good idea. Great. Let's implement it. Right.
Hmm.
So, we want to be the Apple of moving, man. Just, provide great service and really make an impact. Because moving is stressful, right? It's we know that it's one of the top 3 stresses in life.
It definitely is.
So
Oh man. So we can go over these gems all day long,
all day,
with
but
your
let's
experience.
let's stick to the topic here. So employee retention, you want to call it, movers showing up. I mean, I think the first thing we gotta ask ourselves, or we gotta recognize. I think the very first thing you gotta recognize is, you know, most of these guys, girls, for some I know some of you locations hire women, and that's great. So I don't want to be discriminatory, but most of these movers, I'll say, they you got to understand that they go into this position usually by circumstance. And what I mean by that is nobody wakes up and says, you know what, mom, I'm going to be a mover for my life. Nobody does that, right? Let's be
Definitely
honest.
not. No, no, they don't.
If we're really real with ourselves, let's be honest. So you got it. Once you recognize that, you can sort of start to understand the profile or the type of person that you're generally dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once you can understand that, you can put processes, policies, whatever you want in place to help change the mindset of people, or
Gotcha.
to give them hope or respect, or whatever it is they're looking for, to have them be loyal to you, right?
Gotcha.
I'll tell you, like, and not to look, I'm not saying that my movers have showed up every day for 13 years. Like, it happens where they don't show up. I get it, but I don't have that problem like everybody else. And I shouldn't say like everybody else, like most companies, I don't have
Mm-hmm.
that. And it comes down to just knowing and understanding who your people are. It's kind of like us as owners, we want to have the mindset, we always talk about, like, oh, customers are our number one priority, treat our customers good. Right. How many moving companies have you heard say that, right?
Oh, like almost everyone.
Everyone. But let me ask you, how many of those companies are treating their employees as if they were their customers?
No, they're just throwing money at it. Hey, let me pay them all this money.
Right. So what happens is, now most moving companies, right? Most, and again, I'm not, if you're a company that's not like this, that's great. If you're a company that does like this, the truth is going to hurt, and don't be mad at me. I'm trying to help you because I love you, right? But most companies, they have the mindset of, oh, my staff are replaceable, right?
Definitely.
If it's not you, I can hire anybody else.
Yeah,
So
because
let me
they're
ask you
a dime a
this,
dozen.
right? But let me ask you this. You own a moving company, right?
Yes, sir.
Are they your employees, or do you hire day labor?
My employees.
Why don't you hire day labor?
Because they just won't do it right, you know?
Okay, right. So you understand my point. People aren't replaceable,
No, you make sense.
right? So, okay, so how do you get your movers to buy in? How do you get them to want to come to work every day and show up and be excited and be happy and cheerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple things that I do personally.
Okay.
One, I overpay all my staff. I overpay them. Average in Toronto, I don't know what's an average pay for a driver in New York.
I think, depending on what part of New York, but upstate New York, I would say probably like 20, 25 the most.
Right. Same thing here, probably 20, 25. Like, most moving company like 2 Minute Truck, even though they're the largest moving company in the world and they're the most expensive, they're not at 25. They're paying their drivers 21, 22. Right?
Okay.
Smaller companies, you probably get 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about something. I said, well, let me try and overpay. Not that money's a motivator. We know that money's not a motivator, but it
Definitely
helps,
not.
right? We know that it helps, especially in Toronto. Toronto is one of the most expensive cities in North America to live, right?
Okay. Not gonna
Like, it's
price.
really expensive. Like, think like Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
With the Canadian dollar, that's 30% less,
Okay.
right? So we know that money's not a motivator, but we know it helps. And part of, my wife and I, so my wife is also my business partner. Part of our thing is, we really want our staff to live a good life. We want
Hmm.
them, like, it's not right if I'm driving my Mercedes and my staff are at the food bank getting food because they ran out of money. Something's off
Gotcha.
balance there. So we overpay our guys. So my drivers between $30 and $35 an hour.
Whew.
But there's a method to this. So one, my expectation of them is really high. So I'll pay you more. I'll give you the world. I'll treat you with the most respect. I'll like whatever you want. But the minute you start not following my processes and my procedures, you're gone. It's that short, right? But here's the concept behind overpaying them. One, it helps them pay their bills a little bit more, but easier for them.
Hmm.
Two, I don't deal with damages like every other, or I shouldn't say most other moving companies. So most moving companies, they go with the 60 cents a pound, right?
Hmm.
We don't do that. Because I started at 2 men in a truck, you got to understand that's where my foundation is coming from, that service part.
Okay.
And so we repair, replace, compensate, and then we go through, if it's a really traumatic situation, we'll go through insurance, and we have our clients' contents covered up to 200,000. So
Nice.
I don't deal with the 60 cents a pound at all, because I think, one, like, I deal with a lot of high profile clients, right? I don't do a lot of like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom apartments, a lot of like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 square foot homes, right?
Nice. Choose your niche.
Choose, yeah, like, right. And don't get me wrong, like, I don't turn down leads. Like, I got a job tomorrow that's a couch and 4 dining room chairs, but
Okay.
I don't turn them down. But my niche is really like the bigger homes. So because I repair or replace or compensate, it could get costly if my movers aren't doing the job the
Definitely
right,
can.
right? But
Hmm.
I'm confident in my service, right? And so, and just so you know, just year to date, like I said, we're in the high six figures in our first 11 months, and I've paid out less than $1,000 in claims. That's the level of service my movers are giving.
Wow. Okay. That's great.
I think we're at like
Unheard of.
0.5% in our first year, which is good,
Yeah,
right?
that's definitely unheard of, really.
But this is part of overpaying, right? So the expectation to the movers, it's very clear. Look, you need to deliver excellent service all the time. I don't care if you're in a fight with your wife or whatever's going on, or your dog ate your homework or whatever. You got to be on all the time. And then you got to really care about, like, you really got to pad everything. I want floor runners down. I want door protectors out. I want it all, right?
Hmm.
And I want you to be careful with the furniture, right? So my theory behind this is, because I pay out claims, I don't deal with 60 cents a pound, because I, will compensate or repair or replace or whatever to make the customer happy. I would rather give that money to my staff than give it back to a customer. And no disrespect to any customers that may be listening to this. I love you all, but I don't want those kind of issues on my jobs.
Hmm.
Right. So I would rather, every company, they should, if you're a good company, when you're doing your budget, you should, have a budget for what you think the damages will be throughout the year.
Yep,
And you put
definitely.
that money aside in case something happens. Right. I would rather give that money to my guys, because I want them to be happy. I want them to feel like this is a respected job. Right.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. I overpay everybody, but I have a really short, I don't want to say leash, but I have high expectations, and I'm quick to get rid of somebody if they're not meeting those expectations.
Okay. How does that work towards your, I guess, your margins at the end of the day? I guess obviously it's gonna hurt at the
It's
bottom,
gonna
at the
hurt.
bottom.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt, but at the end of the day, the value I'm getting in, online reviews, referrals, all of the services that we provide, the level of, people saying things like, you guys made moving fun. I didn't realize moving could be fun. I didn't
Hmm.
realize it could be like that. To me is invaluable,
Yeah, no, definitely.
right?
Um,
So
so I guess I would ask, how do you ensure accountability, especially with not being out there and having that eagle eye? Like, how can you ensure accountability where floor runners are being set up, everything that you're expecting is going as expected?
that's a great question. So, right now in the first year, probably first 2 years, I'm essentially wearing all the hats, right?
Hmm.
So I'm operations, I'm sales, I'm dispatch, I'm like the first I'm marketing. Like the first thing I passed off was the accounting. Like we hired an accountant. Obviously, that's critical. But I'm out there, man. Like I'm not doing moves with the movers per se, but I show up, right? Like I show up on probably 90% of the jobs. I'll bring them, coffees or water or whatever, buy them lunch if it's a big job. And you gotta essentially inspect what you expect, right?
Hmm.
So they know that I'm coming out there. So they know that they gotta put our floor runners down. Colin could come out anytime. And the last company I was at, we were doing that. He wasn't doing that when I started. And then when I was like, hey, we got to do field supervision. Like that's critical. That's a whole nother topic. Like a lot of companies fail at that too.
Yes,
But
definitely.
that's critical. And then plus it builds rapport with the customer. They feel like, wow, these guys really care. You took time out of your day to come and bring your staff water or coffee or lunch or whatever, and you interact with the customer 5-10 minutes, help the movers with a couple boxes, and you go on your day,
Yeah,
right?
no, that definitely is helpful. It just
It's huge.
I
It's
know
huge.
we've implemented that, and it's just kind of like it fell off, and I feel like we need to just get it's consistent processes.
Consistency, man. Consistency. So, at my last company that the where I was at, we did that. I implemented that when I started, and then I grew the company so big that I just didn't have time for that anymore. And the owner didn't want to hire an operations manager because most moving companies are like, I don't want to pay for this, I don't want to pay for that, but you got to invest in your people. You got to.
Hmm.
And so we stopped doing it for like probably 4 months. And then guess what? Damages started to creep up, right?
Hmm.
Guys were cutting corners, right? Like it's human. It's human nature. You can't be mad at the staff. We failed if they're not doing that. Not the movers. We did. We're the owners. It's our company. It's our responsibility to make sure that everything is good. Period.
Definitely, definitely, and that's why I'm big on processes and getting your systems like using this down season time.
Yeah.
Whatever November to March or so, just using this down
Yeah.
season time to get your stuff in order. So that basically when summer
Yeah.
comes around and chaos is around, hey,
You're
it's
prepared.
not chaos, it's normal. We're
Right.
like,
It's easy. It's easy. So, that's the first thing. Uh, and I know a lot of people won't agree with that about
mhm,
overpaying, but I think if you really look at, everything, the tangibles and the intangibles, I think that it's, for my business at least, it's the way to go. That's the number one thing.
definitely. All right, awesome, awesome. So again, this is Dwight with Max Movement Training. And definitely like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We'll come out with more episodes in the future. Thank you so much, Colin. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
All right.
All right, everybody. You take care.